webinar number 37. This is a member, I don't know how to pronounce it, MFTC. It's a $3.45 man final table. So basically today we're going to keep with the theme of going back to basics, and we're going to look at simple things that can help earn you money. So we're just going to take important notes on the things that will actually help you and aid you in your success. Keep in mind, 45 man or 180 man, doesn't matter, same thing. I don't care how much other people say that is different because of ICM. Same deal, because we are just using creative thinking. Okay, we have another member who's at the table too, Wicked Souls, so we can keep an eye on him too and see if he does anything. There's about 50 hands, so we'll just kind of flip through and see what develops. Okay, really quick, shove or fold, go. 2 people right off the bat. Let's get the 2 others. We get 3. There's 1 more person, right? Yeah? No? Whatever it is. Good. Fold. Excellent. Let's see if we like Wicked Souls shove here. So easy by him. Great fold by Hero here. And perfect. What do you guys think about the shove of the person under the gun? Okay, we get one person says good shove. We get a seems okay. How about this? If you could rank it on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst and 10 being the best, how would you rate the under the gun shove? So let's look at ace-9 shoot, shove, under the gun, 1 through 10 ranking. Let's see what people say. We get a 7, a 5. We're going to go with this Olympics theme of ranking things today. 10 and a 6. All right. Here we go. I would rank this as a 2. Not saying that I'm right and you're wrong, but I will tell you this right now because this is going to deal with number 1 thing, at least not ranked number 1, but the first thing you can use. There's a lot of people to get through. Okay? But more important than that, we'll sum it up this. When you are UTG at a full table, and just to be clear, 7 people or more is a full table, you should be very wary, I think that's how you say it, or we should say worried, about shoving ace, basically ace-jack and lower type hands. Okay? This is, if I could go back in time and play 70,000 games again, this is one of the biggest changes I would make in my play. I would never shove ace-9 here. Granted, it is a plus EV play. It is a very, very high-risk play. You will lose a crap ton of games by shoving under the gun with ace-9, ace-10, ace-jack type hands. So yes, my friends, I would even fold ace-jack right here. Not because I'm scared, but because sheer mathematics says people will have a good hand behind you way more often than you think. So we can bring back a statistic from a long time ago. Under the gun, 8 people behind you, like in this spot, someone will have 10s plus, ace, queen plus 1 out of 3 times. And that is a factoid of information there. So imagine if you have ace-9. Now we can add ace-jack and ace-10 in there. We can add pocket 9s. It's going to change. It's going to be more than 1/3. And this is just 10s and ace-queen. What about pocket 9s? What about 8s? What about 7s? What about ace-jack? Okay? So, this is a horrible shove under the gun, but it is quite standard. This is a standard play that can lose you games. Okay? Unless you hit an ace. Then it will win you games. Okay, let's move on now. Any questions about that? Fine to fold there. Let's see what Dom has to say really quick, and then we'll go to this hand. Just waiting forever. Must be working. Good question, or good point here. Let's go back to it really quick. Sorry, I went too far. We had 9s. Okay. With 8 big blinds, no, it does not have to be done. Good point, though. What this is this is a very standard spot that is very normal that everybody does. This is essentially, it's a giant illusion. It's a trick. Because really what you're doing here is you're putting yourself in a situation where you can lose a lot of games. This is an example of, and maybe we can put this down here, spots where this is a spot where you earn chips but lose games. That's how to sum it up. You do earn chips here by shoving, but you lose games because you're putting yourself in a situation where you're highly, highly vulnerable. Okay? Let's say that someone has 10s and ace queen here. Okay? Inverse that range. Let's just say you're, what would you be if you had ace 9 versus 10s and ace queen? Can someone throw that in Poker Stove and tell me what that is? What is ace 9 versus 10s and ace queen? And you can do suited if you want to. Thank you, someone, for doing this. It is right here, sir. 1/3 of the time. 33 massive % of the time. So someone tell me what ace 9 suited versus 10s and ace queen is. Someone look that up really quick. Thank you. You're 29%. Okay? Which means you will lose 71% of the time. Okay? Let's call it 70 just to keep it easy. Okay? So that means 70% of 33 is the actual percentage chance that you will lose this game when you shove. That comes to about 23. Okay? You will lose this game 23% of the time when you open shove ace 9 here under the gun, and if everybody's calling range was only 10s and ace queen. This would assume that someone's folding 9s. This assumes someone's folding ace jack. You will lose the game 1 out of 4 times, my friends. 1 out of 4 times. You will earn chips along the way. This is really a good substitute. Is that the risk and reward? Is that good? Earn 300 chips on average, but blow the game 1 out of 4 times when you're already at a final table? That doesn't sound worth it at all. These are plus EV shoves. I am so sorry. Tell me if my screen still moves. Oh, this is so bad. I need better internet. Does it move or no? My internet goes out and it comes back like 10 seconds later. Okay, so if it moves. So what I was just saying is this will earn you, say, 300 chips on average every time, but it will also blow you the game, or blow the game 1 out of 4 times. So really, really, really important here. Don't ever shove. It's wireless. Okay, let's move on. So to sum it up, be careful about under the gun shoves at full tables, especially when you have ace jack minus hands. So Dom, to answer your question or your comment, when does it become worth it to shove 6 big blinds and less? 6 big blinds is the point where you're starting to be damaged. But when you shove 6 big blinds in that spot, the risk becomes more worth it because the reward is a larger percentage increase to your stack. BVB, this is fine. Alright, moving on, moving on. Fold, call, shove. Really quick. We won't spend very much time on this hand. We get one fold, we get a fold, we get a fold. Perfect. Looks good to me. This is just in the money. So 7 people left just inside the money now. Okay? Big blind is committed up there, so easy, easy fold. Here's a spot right here. You have the option. Full tilt was 6, correct. Here you can min raise, you can shove if you like big shoves, but please don't do that. Or you could fold. What would you guys do? Okay, we get one min raise, one fold, one min raise, a min raise fold, a min raise, a raise. Cool. Both plays are good. Let's see what hero does. Easy call. So, number 2 thing we can learn from here is min raises become better. A, the deeper in the game you are, the more easy decisions you have behind you. Pretty easy to call him, okay? Obviously the tighter the table. And one more thing, the less and less the big blind may call pre-flop. Okay? Those are 4 things to look for when min raising. Let's see what happens. Quads. Hey, look it right there. Mr. Dom. Mr. Dom, would you shove that ace-9 under the gun there? Thanks, Cleon, for that note. Who shoves? Does anybody shove this? No, not anymore. Round of applause, sir. Now, here it's still, by definition, this is considered a full table because there's 7 people. This is, yeah, and, oh, nice. Look, a little smiley face clapping thing. There are less people. It's not as bad as before, correct? But yes, it is. It is a fold. Very, very good. It is much better to shove 10-8 of spades there. I don't know if that's a shove or not with 10-8 of spades. You could if you want. But it's much better to shove that than it is to ever shove ace-9, ace-10, ace-jack, because you will be screwed a lot. Well done. Okay. He shoves. He's dead to 275. This seems fairly simple. The big stack raises, but you have ace-king. We're not really going anywhere. And hero hits an ace. Awesome. Tough hand. Fold, call, or reshove. We get one fold. We get a shove. We get a resh. I don't know what that is. We get another fold. Oh, a resh, a reshove, sorry. Okay, we get a tempted to reshove. Okay, very cool. I'm going to ask you a question. There's no right answer for this. Does anybody care that they just won the last hand? Or is that not a factor for you? Okay, so we get a no. There's definitely no correct answer to this. Okay, we get a no. Cleon's looking at shoving stack. Rob's greedy. He wants more chips. Cool. Cool. Okay. I guess I'm affected by last hand, but that's fine. Everybody's allowed to be their own way. Okay. Hint. Every decision you make here is good. So if you want to fold, that's fine, because you could argue, oh, you're keeping 12 big blinds. You're in a good stack position at this table. Flat can be good here if you want, but probably shoving is a little better. But flat would be actually fine. I don't see how you could fold after, because you'd be putting in half your stack. You could still fold if you flat, if this guy always had you crushed, I guess, but since we don't know that, then probably shouldn't fold, probably shouldn't. But you could, but I don't recommend it. So let's see what hero does. Hero shoves. Villain has ace-9. Now, let's look at his ace-9 shove here. How is this shove better than the other ace-9 hands? Bingo, Dom's got it on the nose. This is about a 6 big blind shove, and 6 big blinds becomes the point where you can take those spots. Shorter table too, because 6-handed. Very good. Once you get down to 6-handed, you can consider the table a, quote, short table. 6-handed is much better to shove. It's still semi-high risk, but the fact that there's less people and the fact that you are in need of chips with a 6 big blind stack makes the reward more worth it. Because notice, he's increasing his stack by around 1/3? No, a little less than that. Yeah, about 1/4, yeah. Somewhere it's like 1 3.5. I don't know what percentage that is. Something like 30%. I have no idea. Okay, moving on. Now, Hero has a stack. Hero has the option to open here, but you don't have to. Puyan said, would you say is a line of no return when you invest so much into the pot you can't fold, in your opinion? There's no line. Every spot's different. Because it would depend on whatever the situation is. There's times, like, for example, where, remember, like, 9-man stuff, where you could put in 90% of your stack and fold. You know, it really depends on the situation. You just have to allow yourself to use common sense and spot when it's acceptable. Okay, and that's fine, Rob. Yeah, like, think about it like this. There's no correct answer to your question, because what if you were playing a satellite and everybody won $1 million if they got it, or whatever it is, right? And then on the last hand, you have aces. And you're like, okay, some guy moves all in and you have aces, and you move all in too, and you accidentally leave 1 chip behind. And let's say you put in 10,000 chips and you accidentally leave 1 chip. And then the rest of the table goes all in too. You should probably fold your 1 chip. And keep your 1 chip. And fold off 99.9% of your stack. So, everything's different. A personal standard for a situation, half your stack. If you just want like an easy answer, like half your stack. Okay. Easy call. Yes? 2.5 big blinds. You have chips to spare. Okay. Should you call if he has pocket kings? Probably not. It's okay. But nice hand. And we move on to this one. This is fairly easy right here. Okay, shove, fold. Easy fold here. Easy fold with 2-5. There was a walk from up there, which is important. Hero folds again, which is fine. Easy fold. Easy. Okay. Hero's back down to about 12 big blinds. Does anybody do anything here? Okay, Puyan gets a shove. We get a min-raise fold. We get a min-raise fold. Everyone pretty even. Rob says fold to cool down a bit. Okay, here's what's important. No, let's see, third thing that can help you make more money. Recognize that essentially every time it's folded around to you at a final table, you can open the pot. Pretty much every single time. Especially, let's add to this, especially if you have a stack that can min-raise, which in our case is like 12 big blinds or higher. A lot of people say you're not allowed to min-raise unless you have 20 or more, but that's ludicrous because when do you have 20 big blinds at a final table in a 45-man? So they're basically saying min-raises are not allowed. But you can min-raise pretty much with any stack you want. You can open a pot whenever you want, and it's important to recognize that. You don't have to, but you have the option. So let's write that. You have the option but you don't have to. But when you recognize that essentially every single spot is a possibility for you, that's something that can help you make money. Puyan says min raise probably better because blinds are tight. Right, so now we would go back to this thing and we go, okay, when do min raises become better? Well, we're deep in the game, that's good. Do you have easy decisions in this hand? Well, it would depend on your interpretation of how they're playing. The tighter they are, or the less they flat, or the less the big blind calls, the better a min raise becomes. So it's up to you to just notice those things. So, in this spot, what do? I quite frankly don't care. I would say don't shove. You could shove if perhaps you were preventing a known reshover from reshoving, and min raising somehow made him tight. But I'd say overall, shoving leaves the game in PokerStars' hands, and you want to keep the game in your hands here. One other thing that I can put here is never let your plan be min raise fold. Okay? What that is a very subtle thing. When you think that you're going to min raise fold, you could very slightly be changing your mindset into a passive type of mindset. Okay, because if you're planning on backing down from a fight, it's going to make you a little weaker. Like if you think about it, the best fighters in the world are really, really aggressive fighters, right? If they go after someone, they go after someone. But no one who's a really good fighter threatens someone with a fight. Like, imagine like UFC, if you guys have ever seen that. Like, they're not going to back down in the presence of a fight. So this is just a very slight mental thing here. Never think min raise fold. Think min raise attack. I want you to think of stuff that's aggressive, not stuff that's passive. It's just a very small thing that can adjust the way you think in a specific spot and perhaps can give you more confidence. Like min raise win, right? Min raise plan to attack that guy if he calls. Min raise because this guy's been tight and I'm attacking him. But don't go in there with the mindset of like min raise I'm going to give up if they play back against me, because you don't want to have that passive attitude. So let's say have an how do you spell this? Aggressive? Did I spell that right? I missed a G. An aggressive attitude, not a passive attitude, and that's the difference. It's a very, very subtle difference, but it's important. Okay, this is not a min raise fold, this is a min raise attack. Cool. So we are moving on. 20 hands left. There's a walk there. Here's a shove. Yay, someone answered. Thanks. Thanks for participating. Now what? Anything here? Okay. We get Rob shoving here. That's cool. We get another shove. Rock on. Nice stuff. Good work. Now how do you feel? Rut-row. It is a diagonal hand. 7-9 suited is my favorite hand. Why do you say, oh well? Well, we win. Yeah, we win. Yeah, that's true. So, here's a question. Is there anything you can do that potentially would make that guy not move all in with a7? I mean, we talked about it a million times. But what if you did something differently? Like, what? Not even a min raise. Let's say that this is only a shove. Let's pretend we're only allowed to shove all in. Or sorry, let me rephrase that. Let's pretend we're only allowed to get all in or fold. Is there a better way to get all in than this that potentially influences the way that this guy plays his hand? Right. And 3x and 4x. So we've talked about it enough by now where we don't have to go in depth about it at all. But think about it. What if you could do something to manipulate your opponent's behavior? And if he somehow shoved a7 anyway, you would call and you'd be in the exact same situation. Imagine this. Imagine you raise to 6,400 like Neil is saying, okay? And then he still shoves a7. You call. Look, same outcome. You still have your nice, pretty hand. You're still dominating. Well, yes, good, Rob. You give him an additional chance to fold. Not only do you manipulate your opponent's range, maybe it gets him to fold out some more hands because it's not an easy call, but perhaps you turn a call with a 7 where he goes, I call. Perhaps that turns into a call pre-flop, and then you have a chance to run him out of the hand. Puyon says one thing. Correct. It can be confusing. So my recommendation here is don't do it unless you are damn aware of what's going on when you do it. Don't do it to copy what I'm saying. Do it because you understand what it is and what it does and what it means. Okay? Never do it just to do it. Is it any wonder that there's so many like poker video websites out there where people pay money to watch other people play and it doesn't influence their results at all? It's because people watch other people and try and perhaps copy them, but they don't know why so-and-so is doing a certain play. That's why when I coach, as you guys know, I always try and focus on the why, not the what. This is about the why, because if you know why you're doing something, it will make sense to you. If you just know what you're doing, but you don't exactly know why, then you're kind of just clicking buttons. So that's important. Is shove still good? Of course it is. Beautiful hand. Well done. Especially when that happens. That's good too. Jerome says, even if they'll win flats 3 or 4x, they still check very often if they don't hit the flop, and you get it in no matter what, so they still fold. Exactly. And Jerome, one more thing. That's why BVB, this is a much better play, because being out of position actually makes it better because you're the first one in. So BVB, I love making these, especially when I have 2 overcards that flop very safely, like, shocker, like this hand. So what if that guy flats? I'm going to flop 2 overs almost all the time, at least, and I'm going to be first one in the pot. But shove is still good. All right, let's move on. Now, guys, down to 75. You could raise if you want. Don't worry about it. Just fold. Okay. Here. Now check this out. This guy's at 450. This would be a premium spot to open with a min raise. But watch what Hero does. Why is this a mistake? It's plus EV and all that kind of good stuff. But why is this a mistake? Good, Rob. Yes, good. You can save chips by min-raise folding. You give away chip lead, exactly. So what we want to put here is when there is a super short stack, you don't need to shove to, and then using the expression, to make people fold. Because they will only play nutted hands, usually. Not always. There's some guys who are crazy. But for the most part, your power just comes from you having chips and him being short. You don't have to shove to show your power. So really, you're just putting yourself in harm's way here, especially with ace-x hands. Never, ever shove an ace-x hand here. I mean, don't even shove ace-queen here. If you want to shove ace-king, okay, sure, knock yourself out. Don't shove ace-queen here. It's so standard, though. This is another spot that will, like we said earlier, where did we write it? There you go. Spots where you earn chips, but you lose games, and we can add to this, and or chip leads, depending on what your stack is. Tony, good question. Would I raise fold ace-queen? You bet your ass I would. Because usually at this point, No one's going to be getting it in with ace-queen. Now, ace-queen, it might be a little different if the 450 guy gets all in, but then I would still wonder, why is a guy shoving when he could just call and knock that guy out? Do I lose value versus pocket pairs? I do. I do. But I maintain my chip lead more in the game, and that's more important to me. I'm not concerned with losing value in a particular hand. I'm more concerned about keeping my stack so I can use it more in the future, which helps me win the game. And Rob does love ace-queen. I do. Sometimes I will win the flip, but this is my personal preference. I rather raise, fold, and keep 31,000 than raise, call against, say, the big blind, for example, and sometimes be at 40,000 and sometimes be at 20,000. If he's 3-betting me ATC and I knew that, then I would definitely call. Because that's different. Because now my hand is going to fare much better versus their range than the suspected range when someone's at 450. Puyon says, because I agree, but in this tournament, I don't think this is as profitable to do this. Well, right. It's still profitable to call with ace-queen. Like, you're probably going to have a thin plus EV spot, maybe, because of pot odds. But I'm not concerned about any of that. I'm concerned about keeping 31K because I don't want to blow it. I don't even care, turbo or whatever. I mean, think about it like this. When you win the game, it's over. That's it. So all of these goofy plays where plus EV or negative EV, once the game's over, it doesn't matter anymore. They disappear in the thin air, right? So it doesn't matter, like, if I raised to 3,200 here and I had aces and I accidentally misclick fold aces here, if I end up winning the game, the mistake is erased, okay? Because it doesn't do anything. I won. That's it. It's in the past. I've locked up that money. You can raise call all you want. I'm not saying it's bad from a plus EV, negative EV standpoint, because it's a spot where you earn chips, but you lose games and or chip leads. Yeah, it's not. Let's say it's not a mistake. It's this. It's that's the definition of what this is. So let's call it a non-mistake. I don't know what to call it. So it's not a mistake in terms of plus EV, negative EV. It's a mistake in terms of losing games and or chip leads. Less desired. You got it. Okay. Now what? Sure, he limped. We're gonna get to see a hand here. I don't even know what hero does actually, but we're gonna get to see villain's hand here. He limps. We check. He shoves. Okay, we get a call. I don't even know what he has. So let's find it. We get a call, a fold. He can't have an ace. Yes, he could have an ace. We get a fold. I'd fold too, for what it's worth. Who says he can't have an ace? You've never seen someone open limp with an ace to help knock a guy out? I would say he has exactly an ace right here. I'd say he has like ace 3 or ace 2 or something like that. Okay. So we get all folds. I don't even know what he has, to be honest. Like, he could have like a 7, for all I know. Okay. Well, think about it like this. First of all, if he does have a 10, you're beat. Or it's probably going to be a split pot. So really all you beat is a 7, a bluff, or a draw. Okay? So we get basically everybody says fold, Puyon says call. We'll find out. We can settle this right now. I have no idea what this guy has. Here we go. Look at that. Look at that. Puyon was right. We were all wrong. Congratulations. But here's the thing, though. Now I have a question for you, Puyon. I think his play is horrible. But if he limps with pocket 4s, couldn't he limp with an ace? Because pre-flop we'd say there's no chance he has a pair either. Julian does have a good point. If you're wrong, you're left with 30K. True. Counter argument. This particular player now bumps up to about 17 or 18K, which is a threat, I guess. This is true. You don't care about his stack. That's really interesting. You don't care about your opponent's stack. Okay. All right, let's move on. Now what? Fold. 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 Good. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. You could do something here. It all goes back to this. So we have our 4 ways that can help earn you money. So your min raises become better. All of those things is what we're looking for. Lots of leverage. Good. And then if you had any particular personality reads, you could lay those on top of them, but I can't really think of any right now. Okay. Here too. Now, this shove, let's talk about this. This is much better than the Queen 10 shove because no one has 450 chips. With the 450 chips essentially makes people fold without having a shove. This shove makes a lot more sense. Oh. Nice hand though. Let's go back. Why does this make a lot more sense? Because in situations where someone is so incredibly short, that creates a lot of folds for you. Here, it's not as crystal clear that everyone's going to be super tight. But you could min raise here if you want, and then fold to like the 11Ks. You could. What about here? Oops. Okay. We get a call. Cool. Anything here? I don't care really what you do. Just remember, you have the option every single time. What here? Okay, good. I clicked it too fast, but only play right here because you never ever want to put in a big raise there. Yeah, Wicked Souls. This is really good to limp against loose guys who might just call you pre-flop anyway. Okay, what about here? I don't get it. What? He just limped. What's going on? Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, so we get a shove. We get another shove. Question. Do you think he will fold if you shove? Okay, we get a no. Okay, now I'm going to interrupt right here. Huyon and Rob. Not Rob, sorry. Huyon and Tony said shove. Here, Tony said shove. Here, Huyon said shove. And then they said that he won't fold. Now my question for you is this. If he shoves 6,800, do you call? For Tony and Huyon. Okay, Huyon says yes. Tony says fold. Huyon, what would you do here with 3 deuce offsuit? No, I mean after he limps. After he limps. Okay, guys, we're on to something here. Okay, Tony said And so Tony says he won't fold pre-flop. He'd shove 8-7 if he limps. Okay. Puyan said he won't fold pre-flop. Puyan shoves the reduce offsuit if he limps. But Puyan also said, like, if the guy shoves 1600, you call it 8-7. So here is the concern. If he's limping and he's not folding, there is no folding equity. So, you guys have all seen this by now. Well, you just told me he wouldn't fold. He could fold, but you were telling me that he wasn't. Just listen to this. Well, this is important because will he fold? Maybe, but if you're not expecting him to fold, this is what you're doing. I'm going to write this right here. This is really, really important. EV equals folding equity plus showdown equity. You guys have all seen this by now. If he's not folding, there is no folding equity. Therefore, your EV equals only showdown equity. And as most of you know by now, this is what a call looks like. Okay? So the thing is if you shove 3 deuce offsuit over this guy and you don't expect him to fold, that's the same thing as calling his shove with 3 deuce offsuit when he shoves 68-66. Okay. So Puyan, in your mind, I'm calling a shove. Well, good. So at least you have that going on in your brain. That's good. You could shove post or fold post flop if you shove. Now that's really interesting because you should fold post flop. Because what if the board? Who said that? What if the board's ace king queen, and you have 8-7? If you get it in, if he has a pair, you're like a 5% favorite. That would be stupid. He doesn't necessarily have to have anything. Now here's a question. Don't a lot of good players say the goal in every hand is to maximize your EV? A lot of guys say that. So here's my question. If he's not folding, your EV equals showdown equity. And your showdown equity is going to be the same no matter how good of a player you are. If you're all in with a certain hand versus someone else's certain hand, you have the same edge as everybody. If you and Phil Ivey both get in this spot, you have the same edge as Phil Ivey in this particular hand. But there's a lot of good players out there who say the goal of a hand is to maximize your EV. Whether or not I agree or disagree with that, here's my question. If all we have is showdown equity, you're all the same skill. The only way you could differentiate yourself is by creating folding equity to somehow try and get this guy to fold. So the best play in this hand is trying to somehow make this guy fold more often than someone else. So if we ranked, like, Olympic style again, gold, silver, bronze, the 3 top players in this situation, in terms of this hand, just this hand by itself, the 3 top earning players would be the ones who maximize folding equity the most in this hand. Okay? Now, it's hard to do that when your only options are shove. Okay? Because there's other ways to maximize folding equity. That's the goal in this hand. If you can make him fold, how could you do it more than someone else? Rob, about dollar EV, sure, that's more important than chip EV, I suppose. But really what you should be doing here, just forget about all that stuff. You're making it too hard on yourself. Just win the freaking game. Just do whatever you can to earn more money, and all of this stuff will take care of itself. Jerome's got it right here. Jerome's got it. Dom's got an idea too. Raise to 4,400. Then what if that guy flats? Now you have another chance to make him fold. Right? The goal here is to try and creatively induce more folds from this guy. You can do it by checking now, and what if you did a delayed bet? What if you check the flop, and then if you check twice, you bet the turn? Or what if you check down to the river and put them all in on the river? Right? So Tony's coming around on this. The goal is to maximize folding equity. I would bet you that it's more likely you're going to see more folds post-flop than you are pre-flop. Because pre-flop, if you put a guy in, they're more likely to just call off. Post-flop, when reality hits and they go, oh, I don't have a hand now. So Tony, let's pretend it was ace, king, queen board and you had 8-7. You could bet 2,000 on the flop and fold to a shove. You could check the flop and bet the turn if you're checked to twice. You could check twice and just bet 2K on the river. There's all these different options, but somehow in the sit and go world, all of these other creative options kind of just, they fade into thin air because they don't exist in sit and goes. It's all about shoving and folding. That's it. So, number 5 thing that can help you. Sometimes the best play is to just make them fold as much as possible and find a way to do it. So why are you worried about that? So let's just say, in Puyon's example, he's first to act, he shoves 2.5 big blinds on the flop, and oh no, you fold. Well, gosh darn it, you have 34,800 chips, and you're the chip leader at a 45-man final table with 3 people left. That's gotta suck. What a horrible situation you're in. It's a wonderful situation. The worst thing that happens to you if you, quote, get exploited or run over or whatever you're afraid of, the worst thing that happens to you is a very good thing. And that's true. Good point. Why do we assume he's checking? So maybe he doesn't check. Maybe we fold. A lot of times, yeah, I mean, a lot of times people fold, sometimes they don't. I mean, we just don't know. It just depends who this guy is and what he has. Now, Puyon's got a really good point. This guy limped 4s in that spot with like 5 big blinds. I mean, it's very possible here that this guy has a better hand than normal. I'm not saying a good hand, but it's probably more likely he's going to limp call if he's limping with 4s with 5 big blinds. Kind of suits the personality. Well, correct, Rob, you could make him fold with a shove. It's very, very possible. I bet you can make him fold more post-flop. Probably if they flop is king 7-2, then you just have to trust yourself. If he shoves the flop, sometimes call, sometimes fold, you just have to trust yourself. Now here's the thing, you can't disregard him. If you're considering him insignificant, then you're making a mistake here. If you just say, oh, who cares about that guy? I'm just going to put him in. He doubles up. Dude, he's at 14,000. That's not insignificant. That's over 20% of the chips in play. You can't disregard this guy. he will double up here to 13,500. And if you put him in and he doesn't fold, 50% of the time he's out, which is obviously great for you, which is good. I'm not saying this is negative EV to shove. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying he's up to 13.5. That's a lot of chips. You should probably always think. I mean, when you're playing, think about this. You could be doing tons of things with your life, but you're deciding to devote a lot of time to poker. You should probably make sure that you're thinking about every single hand you play. Every single hand. 2 big blinds, 1 big blind, half big blind, whatever. Yeah, you could put it like that. You could also word it as it's 6,000 to win 10,000, which is fine. Pot odds wise, it's fine. I'm not saying you lose chips like this. This is a spot where, once again, you earn chips, but you can lose chip leads. Because even if you say, for instance, you only lose 5,000 more, you would go down to about 30,000, which is great for you, of course. But if this guy goes up to 13,500, I mean, that changes a lot. He's not insignificant at all. Now, if you want to shove, that's fine. Do something to make him fold whatever play you think is best. Hero decided to check. Here's that flop you were talking about. Someone said King 7-2. It's like the same thing. Okay. He bets 2K. Now what? Oh no. The worst thing in the world is about to happen. Look. Cool. Now, let's pretend the flop is Queen 6-3. And let's just pretend the guy, you have the best hand with 8 high or whatever. The worst thing that happens is you walk away with a hand with 34,800. All that matters at this point, it's not necessarily what's plus EV, what's not plus EV. What matters is winning this game, because all the plus EV plays in the world are not going to earn you profit. Winning the game is going to earn you profit. So basically, in every spot, just do whatever you can to win the game. Now, if your interpretation of that is put him in right now because you have a chance to bust him out, sure, go for it. If your interpretation of it is check and then perhaps try to create more folds so you can keep him short, sure, go for it. The whole point is that you just have to choose a style that suits you. I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm right, you're wrong, or something like that. This is about finding what works for you. We're not going to talk about that. So we've talked about it enough. Okay, we get a call, which is fine. Well done. Okay, the guy calls. I'll show you this hand, actually. He bets. Check is fine, Leon. No right answer. I'm just going to show you this. I'm back. So what do you think of this shove? Can you guys see the screen move and all that kind of good stuff? Hello, hello? Sorry. Okay. So what are your thoughts on this? We'll be done in like 2 minutes. Ah, 'cause my internet sucks. Good. Good. So should you do it? Should you not do it? Up to you. This is where thinking for yourself comes in handy. Okay. Well, it doesn't really matter Jack 5 or not Jack 5. At this point, you just have pure air. He either has a 10 or a flush, or he doesn't have a 10 or a flush. I mean, your cards could be blank. Your cards could be pretty much, you could have 8-9 offsuit here for 2 pair. All hands are the same. Rob, right, you can tell by how fast they call. Because when people have draws, they don't have to think about it. They just know that if they hit their card, it's good. So people tend to call fast because there's nothing to think about. Of course, in here, we can't tell the speed of stuff. Yeah, and Jerome, if that's how you feel about this hand, if you don't think you want to get involved, that's fine. If like, and for Tony, like if you think he got there, then don't do it. He did check the river. That's true. We're all really bad. That's okay. So easy shove here. Villain calls. Hero wins. So congratulations to MFTC. Boom. That's how to win a 45-man. But most important things are these 5 main notes right here, and we will post those in the forum, so you have that. Probably the most important and most common thing is the very first thing that hit Dom the hardest. Don't shove vulnerable aces in early position at full tables, because you're just going to lose the game a lot more often than you think. So kind of the theme for this entire thing is be careful of spots where you earn chips because it's plus EV, or even dollar EV too, kind of like you mentioned earlier, Rob. But you lose games and or chip leads because of those plays. In other words, there may be things that appear good on the surface, but underneath, they're just a big, big trap. Danger. Cool. That'll do it. Okay, guys. Good luck in your games. Thanks for coming.